He goes, there's one little more thing you need to know. She said when you evict her, she's going to go out to the front lawn, take a gun, and blow out her brains. Today, we're going to go through some of my stories over the last 40 years of tenants. This is going to hopefully teach you the importance of tenant screening, because there's nothing more than tenant screening. So stay with us, and the stories, there are about 7 of them, you're going to find them really interesting. When I first started in real estate, it was quite a interesting time. I bought a few houses. Then all of a sudden, by the time I was 21, I owned a 45-unit apartment building, which was quite interesting. So let's start there, and we'll start with the very first interesting tenant story I ever had.
Did you have any expectation going into your first deal that you might have some crazy tenants?
No, I just thought you get the rent, cash a check, and it's that easy.
Nice and easy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Never have a problem.
Uh-huh.
So we closed on the 45-unit apartment building. And then at closing, the manager comes up to me and says, I am glad you bought this building. You have perfect timing for me.
For him.
I said, okay, well, why is that? He said there's a tenant that's living in the building for 50 years. She has 3 apartments, 3 garages, and a storeroom. And she pays rent on all of them. She's current on rent. Nice little old lady. She used to walk through the halls with a little rope, put the rope up on the fire hoses. We had fire hoses back then. And pull it back and forth for daily exercise. So she's the nicest old lady you could talk to. And he told me, we're evicting her. I said, well, why are you evicting her? The fire department walked through her apartment, and she's a hoarder.
Ooh.
There's a path going from the front door to the kitchen, and the path stops. And it's a fire hazard with all the dust in the apartment. You gotta be careful, because, turn the light switch on, the whole thing might explode.
Ooh.
Here's your possession order. You can get to evict this little lady. He goes, there's one little more thing you need to know. She said when you evict her, she's going to go out to the front lawn, take a gun, and blow out her brains.
Oh my God.
Now, I'm 21 at the time, and I'm picturing myself making the front pages of the newspapers. Little old lady shoots herself, current on rent, evicted, shoots herself in the front yard of the apartment building.
Oh my gosh.
Now, I don't lose sleep on a lot of things. This kept me up at night.
Oh no.
So I talked to her a bunch of times, and she said, I'll get the apartment, I'll clean it. And she wasn't making any progress. She had a hard time from going from one floor to another, let alone moving anything out.
Oh my God.
So I had to make a decision. What do I do?
Yeah.
All right? So she went to church one Sunday morning. I said, I've got a choice. I'm either going to get sued or I'm going to have her kill herself. So I guess I'm going to take the chance of getting sued. So when she went to church, we went in her apartment, we cleaned everything out and put it down into her garage. Okay? Thus making the fire department happy. Now I knew when she came home,
Yeah.
she's going to throw a fit.
Yeah.
All right? And probably going to sue, etc. She comes home, walks in the apartment, and she looks at me and said, wow, this is really nice. Can I pay you for all your work?
No way.
I looked at her and all I could say, no, I'm just going to go home and think about this for a while. When she died, like 3, 4, 5 years later, she died. She donated all her money to the church. And now these were small studio apartments.
Okay.
At the time they were $400 a month. When she died, she had enough money that she could have bought the building.
Really nice.
So she is, and you would never assumed it. It was just amazing.
But it could have had a bad ending.
Could have had a bad ending.
You handled it well.
Yeah, if we would have evicted her, she would have killed herself
Yeah.
over a messy apartment. But what do? Fire department's coming down on you. They got reason to worry about the other tenants.
Right. So being a property owner is not always easy.
Sometimes you got to use common sense to make decisions, and you still might get sued.
Oh.
Here's another one in the same building. I had a mother rent an apartment, and her daughter and boyfriend rented another one in the same building.
Okay.
So they were there a month, and they came back and told me they had to get out of the lease. But there was a real good reason they had to get out of the lease. It's because the apartment was haunted, and they had ghosts in it.
Okay.
You may find this hard to believe. I didn't have much patience for this. And I told them what I thought about their ghosts.
Oh no.
So this goes to a very important lesson. At that time, I used to have rent mailed to my house. No longer do that.
Oh no, that's a good tip.
One day I came out and they put sand down my gas tank.
Oh my god.
At least it wasn't sugar, but they put sand down my gas tank.
Oh no.
So we had to take the gas tank out, drain it, etc., etc., etc. But it goes to the moral, you have an unlisted address in your house when you have tenants. You don't want to evict a tenant and let them know where you live.
Ooh.
So yeah,
That's a good tip.
it's a good tip. One of our evictions, we go in and the toilet was stopped up. And they had all kinds of pots on a table. And there was like dirt all over the table with no plants in it. We didn't think anything of it. So we get the eviction done. After the sheriff's gone and everything, we pull the toilet to see why it stopped up. It was clogged up. Pot plants. They were growing pot, and they didn't want the sheriff to see it, so they flushed it all down the toilet.
Oh no.
So when you do evictions, you never know what you're gonna find in the unit.
Flush it down so quick.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
Yes. So it's kind of interesting. Back in the 70s, I used to have an incinerator in the same building. It was a 40-foot incinerator, 40-foot chimney on top of a 4-story building.
Okay.
Every floor had a little chute to put the garbage down. And every day we would light the bottom and burn all the garbage. One day I got a phone call that the whole building was full of smoke.
Ooh.
So we went out there to figure out what was going on. Somebody took a piece of plastic off of a bed and put down the incinerator.
Oh, did you have certain rules of items not to?
No, they threw everything down.
Okay.
Cans, bottles, everything.
Oh.
We did out the incinerator once a week.
Okay.
Well, the plastic was so light, it floated to the top of the chimney.
Oh, and blocked the.
It blocked the exit of the smoke,
Oh my god.
so filled up the whole building with smoke. Needless to say, after that, the city didn't let me use my incinerator anymore. Here's another interesting thing about that incinerator. I don't know if you've ever been on a roof,
No.
but they have wires going all around the edge of the roof
Okay.
with lightning rods. Being young, didn't see the need for it. One day in the morning, I got a phone call like at 1 in the morning.
Okay.
And my manager said, lightning hit the building.
Oh.
But the fire department's on the roof. You don't have to worry about anything. There's no fire or anything.
Okay.
So I do what all good landlords do at 1 in the morning. Rolled over and went back to bed.
Okay.
The next morning I'm driving in and the building was 4 stories with a 4-story chimney. So you could see this chimney from the other end of town. I'm riding to work, to the building, and I'm not seeing the chimney. I'm saying to myself, my mind must be playing games. You know, the chimney's gotta be there. Chimneys don't disappear overnight. So I'm getting closer to the building, and I'm still not seeing the chimney. Get to the building, and the building next door, which was a 2.5-story building, I noticed something interesting. There were all kinds of bricks in the parking lot, and there were cars with broken windshields.
Oh no.
When I went to the roof, I found a 4-foot by 4.5-foot hole in the roof. Do you know what happens when you blow up a chimney on a roof? Because the lightning went right down the middle of it. Do you know what happens to everything? First of all, you exploded a ton of bricks all on your roof. Guess what that does for a roof?
Damaged it?
Now you need a new roof. There's not even fixing it.
Oh, okay.
What's on the bottom of a chimney? The 2 million BTU boiler, which at the time was about 10 feet long, 8 feet tall, 6 feet wide. And guess what started leaking after that hit by lightning?
Yeah, you need to replace the whole thing.
So I started with the insurance company and got the roof replaced and everything I needed to get replaced except for the boiler, and we had to pay for the boiler.
So, and that moral of the story is because you didn't have those little lightning rods.
Little lightning rods, and the building was old enough we had actual cash value instead of replacement cost on the insurance.
Okay.
Some of the other stories, one morning, I do things differently now. I had like 6 lawsuits in the first 2-3 years of owning property. Got served 3 times in 2 days at one time. So I do things differently with tenants.
Okay.
We had one of the lawsuits was we had a phone call 5 in the morning. There was a fire in one of my units. So I went out there and they neglected to tell me that the 6-month-old baby was still on the floor of the fire.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I've heard that one before. It was a bad one.
So the fire department was investigating. This was a Saturday morning. Sunday morning, the inspectors for her lawyers were out inspecting the project. Now think about if you lost your 6-month-old baby, could you go out and hire a lawyer the same day to come out the next day to inspect?
No, it's just stressed out.
Tuesday, she came in at 10 o'clock in the morning telling me she was over the baby's death and the funeral was like an hour ago and she wanted her security deposit back.
Gosh.
So a year later we go to depositions and they said, did you have a lighter when you got home? Yes, I had a lighter. What'd you do with the lighter? I came in, put it on top of the refrigerator. Yeah, well that's pretty good memory for a year later.
Yeah.
So now they ask her 4 more questions and she did not know the answers to the next 4 questions. They asked the birth date of the first baby that died. They asked the birth date of the 2-year-old baby that was home.
Okay.
They asked what hospital the 6-month-old baby was born in. And they asked what hospital the 2-year-old baby was born in.
Okay.
She didn't know any of those questions. But yet, she remembered coming home, putting the lighter on top of the refrigerator.
From a year ago.
From a year ago.
So
But of course she sued, for millions of dollars trying to get money.
Wow. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
And so did you ever find out what actually happened? 6-month-old baby?
They proved that somebody lit the baby crib with the open flame. But they couldn't prove who did it. Was it the father, the mother, or the 2-year-old baby?
And because of that, they walked away.
Right.
Nothing happened.
Nothing happened. Kind of crazy.
It's horrible.
Yes.
But she didn't end up getting any money out of you, right?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
You know, I don't know if the insurance company settled, they probably settled for a low amount. Because, you know, I'm sure her lawyer did not want her to go on the stand testifying. Because she wouldn't have made a credible witness.
Right. It's crazy. That's probably one of the saddest ones, right?
Probably one of the saddest ones.
Oh my gosh.
And that's 40 years ago, and I still remember it to this day. We purchased a building 2 years ago, and the owner sold it to me because he was going to court in a week, and he didn't want anything to do with the building. So he sold me the building for what he paid for it 20 years earlier. So first thing I noticed, we had a few tenant issues.
So you got a really good deal on that.
Got a real good deal on the
And
building.
you were happy.
Yes.
But you didn't know why.
Oh, I knew why.
Oh, you knew
He
why?
told me what the tenant issues were. So first thing I noticed, apartment 1, 2, and 3 were flooded out by apartment 6.
Oh.
Apartment 4, 7, and 8 had squatters in it. Apartment 4 basically had 2 dogs living in the apartment, so he was keeping the apartment for his dogs. Apartment 5 was their best tenant.
At least one.
Yeah, he was only 3 months behind on rent. And apartment 6 was the apartment putting all the squatters in.
Oh my gosh.
So we had to evict all these tenants. And once we got the tenants out, now the building is full and it's doing very well.
Oh, so that process was pretty easy?
It was easy, but it took 6, 7 months.
Okay.
It wasn't a quick process. Because the tenant that was putting the squatters in was a professional tenant. So the moral of the story is you've got to watch your buildings. And, you know, leaving vacants in a building is not good.
Okay.
Because you leave vacants, you never know what's going to happen.
Okay.
And if somebody moves in and you don't evict, like, get rid of them right away, they're now your tenant, whether they're paying or not.
It's crazy.
Another interesting story, this 45 unit was a 3-story building, and it had the windows that popped out.
Oh, very nice.
So they looked beautiful, but they didn't have screens.
Okay.
So one of my tenants had a bed right by the window. And he had a little baby jumping on the bed.
Oh no.
And this was on the 3rd floor. This was spring, it was 70 degrees outside. So the baby jumps on the bed and he actually jumps out the window. Because the windows would just
Right
come
by-
open. They were the vertical ones.
Okay.
And they would go
Oh,
open, no screens, because they were the old time windows.
Oh.
Like casement windows we got now,
That's
but they have scrape.
horrible. And that's it?
But here's what's interesting about it. Springtime, 60, 70 degrees outside.
Okay.
There was one pile of snow on the whole property.
Okay.
And the pile of snow was right below the window.
So it saved the baby's life.
The baby only got a broken arm out of the whole deal.
Oh, thank God.
And that could have been a tragedy. The baby could have died.
Gosh.
But that one pile of snow right below the window saved the baby's life.
Thank God. I thought it was going to be another one of your horror
No,
stories.
so that was like pretty good. It was, you know.
So how did you even find out about it? The tenant called and said, hey, I
Oh,
need a screen on that window.
We find out this kind of stuff in an apartment building. It only takes minutes to find this stuff out. Say, because the police and paramedics are at your building, somebody always calls.
Okay, got it.
So yeah, so it's, you know.
So is that maybe one of the reasons now that every single one of the buildings has those screens?
Yes,
Almost.
it's code. But you still got to be careful. Babies falling out the window is a common thing.
Really?
Yes, not to mention anything about my number 1 son. But I remember taking my number 1 son, telling him to go to bed. I was on the bottom of the stairs. I sent him upstairs, in this house in fact, to go to bed. And 2 or 3 minutes later, I hear a funny noise. And you know when your kid cries of hurt or cries of upset, those are two cries. I heard a different kind of cry. And I didn't know what it was. But it alarmed me and I ran upstairs. And I looked into his bedroom. First thing I see is his window. It's nighttime. The screen's off the window. And he's not in the bedroom. And all I see is his gym shoes on the windowsill.
What?
It's the only window in the house that has a roof right below it. He was on a 45-degree angle with his arms out on the roof and his gym shoes were on the windowsill.
What was he trying to do? Just
He hit the screen and didn't realize the screen would come out. And when he hit the screen, he fell out the window. Kids falling out windows, very common. It is not as unusual as you would think. So you've really got to be careful of.
I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, it happens more times than you ever think. One more story,
One more.
and this is a good one.
If it's happy.
When I first started, when we first start, you're always tight on money.
Yeah.
And I had a $5,000 gas bill due on a Friday. Okay? And my bookkeeper looked at me and said, I've always seen you look out on this. You always get money in at the last minute, okay? Or you always figure out how to get money, all right? Gas company's gonna turn the gas off in your 45-unit building. And this time, I'm guaranteeing you, you're not gonna pull this one off. Okay? So this was a little stressful for me. Because shutting off a 45-unit gas, not a good thing.
No.
You know, I pay for the heat, pay for the hot water. So, the last thing I needed, this lady comes in, long hair like you, really scraggly though. You can tell she smoked a lot. She's quiet. And she said she wants to rent an apartment. And I said, well, what do you do for income? I'm an heiress. You're an heiress. Yes. And you want to rent a studio apartment in my building? Yes. At this time, I don't have any patience. Fine. You want the apartment? Give me a year's rent up front. Give me a security deposit. I'll move you in today. So she turned around and left. All right? Because I was being a smart aleck. It's 4 o'clock. Time to pay that gas bill. And my secretary's looking at me. He said, I think you're screwed. And guess who walks in the door? That lady walks in the door with a check for a year's rent and a security deposit.
That's nice.
You pay the gas bill, and at the end of the day, my secretary looked at me and said, I just don't know how you do it.
Just good luck.
My wife truly believes that God loves me because He does favors for me He doesn't do for anybody else.
I've even heard Ed's story how he got started in real estate at 18, and it truly is just a story of luck. Just how your life played out and the
Yes.
events that happened. So based from everything that you learned with managing tenants in the past, have you improved on certain evaluation prior to allowing a tenant?
We've improved a lot because technology's improved. Back then, we couldn't do criminal checks.
Oh, God.
We could do credit checks, and they were okay, but they weren't that accurate. There were no criminal checks.
Okay.
And now, like if a tenant comes in and says, my landlord is giving me a reference, we can go online, look up the owner of the property, look up the landlord's name and number, because a lot of times you get bogus names and numbers.
Okay, like a friend.
Right. A lot of times it's
My
friends,
landlord.
and they actually call the landlord. So there's checks we could do now we couldn't do before.
Got it.
So it makes a big difference.
So you don't have any crazy stories that have happened as of recently?
Not as many.
Got it.
The crazy stories we get now is when we take over a property and we inherit tenants. So, if you like this, give me a thumbs up. If you have any comments or even maybe you got your own stories, share them with us in the comment section. I read each and every comment, and if you haven't subscribed yet, which I wouldn't know why, subscribe to the channel. And if you got any friends that might like it, share this with a friend.